Mga kapuso, karong buntaga ato nasab ipasigarbo ang mabulukon ug mabungahon natong kultura. Ato makauban karon ang usa ka folk dancer sa Amerika nga adunay Mindanaoan roots. Usasab siya sa mga nagapakita sa atong kultura ngadto sa nagkadaiyang lugar. Let us welcome Sir Matthew Espina Harris. Sir Matthew, good morning and welcome sa At Home with GMA Regional TV. How are you doing right now?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Sir Matthew, kindly introduce yourself to our Kapuso audience here in Mindanao. Do you have Mindanaoan roots, sir, and what is their backstory?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, like we said, my name is Matt. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area in California. I do have Mindanao roots. My grandfather was from Surigao City, so that's where my family is from. Yeah, so after World War II, my grandpa joined the U.S. military. So he ended up traveling the United States. My grandma was also, at that time, she's from Pampanga. So after the war, she ended up in Manila and eventually made her way to the United States, which is where my grandparents met. So my grandparents met in San Francisco, and yeah, my mom is born in San Francisco.
Can you share to us how did you fell in love with the Philippine culture and why did you choose to be a folk dancer showcasing our culture?
So for me, I was always kind of removed from it. I actually almost rediscovered a lot of my own culture and identity in college. When I went to University of California, I joined our Filipino-American organization called Mga Kapatid. That's where I was introduced to Filipino folk dance and music, and I really, really just fell in love with it. So I decided to take it a step further, and I joined two organizations. One of them was American Center of Philippine Arts, where I learned and continue to play rondallo music. And then I also joined House of Gongs, which is a space for traditional kulturang music, where I learned in the style of Mindanaoan kulturang music.
Matthew, you've mentioned that you have a lot of Filipino community groups in the States. What kind of performances you've already done and how did it help you as an individual?
I would say, as an individual, every performance helps, feel connected, right? Not only to culture, but to my community. Some of them, kind of the bigger ones that I appreciate, still carry with me. Those are my first year performing. Those are really amazing. That's where I got connected with organizations like Little Manila Stockton and Parangal Dance Company. So those are, organizations that I continue to do work with and appreciate very much. Performing is something that I really enjoy. Playing music is something that I absolutely love. And to be able to play Filipino music specifically, it's really fulfilling. So I love it. I teach it to students, to college students across California, and it's something I love to do.
Glad to hear that you are enjoying what you are doing, Sir Matthew. By the way, what do you think you like or love the most about our rich culture?
I think the best aspect of Philippine culture is the fact that it's so diverse. It's not one single culture, it's a collection of cultures, especially in Mindanao, right? You have different Lumad and Moro cultures coming together, Muslim cultures coming together, and Christian cultures coming together. So I think Mindanao in particular is a really great example of how beautiful the diversity is of the Philippines. And I think that's probably my favorite aspect, that there's so much to celebrate, so much to learn within the different regions of the Philippines.
May I follow what are the usual feedback that the group receives after performing a routine that showcases Filipino culture?
I think what we hear a lot of times is it's so beautiful, the dances we put on, because part of Parangal's mission is to also promote tangible heritage as well. So we make sure that we are collaborating with our partners and indigenous culture bearers to showcase traditional attire. So I think one of the biggest feedbacks that we get is that it's visually striking to see real traditional pieces worn by our dancers from Mindanao. But also a lot of people do comment on how they didn't know that we had such a range of cultures within the Philippines. So that's also a really great thing that we hear.
Sir, by the way, have you already been in the Philippines? What are the places you've visited already and how was your experience?
Yeah, so I can talk in particular about Mindanao. So my first time in the Philippines, remember my mom was born in the States, right? So she's never been to the Philippines. I'm the first one. So my first time in the Philippines, I stayed in Manila by myself for about a week, and then I met up with Parangal to travel to Basilan. So that's an island in the Sulu archipelago, and that was an amazing trip. If you're able to travel, I definitely recommend going to Basilan. But also I've been across the Zamboanga Peninsula, Davao, South Cotabato, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, and of course Surigao, where my family is from. And so I met my family in the Philippines for the first time actually in 2020. I was able to travel to Surigao in February of last year, and it was an amazing experience to be able to reconnect because it's been so long since we've been able to meet. So yeah, it's really an amazing experience to be able to travel in Mindanao. I would recommend it to anyone as long as you have trusted people with you along the way. It's a really nice place.
Thank you so much, Sir Matthew, for the time that you have given us. Take care always and see you soon here in the Philippines.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Mga kapuso, chillax lang mo. Mubalik pa ang At Home with GMA Regional TV.
Kini ang At Home with GMA Regional TV.